Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Good afternoon. Yes, the Matsa story, it's changing a little bit since this time last year. A couple of key developments, and I'll take you through those over the next few slides. Our target really still is in Lake Carey to generate a resource of over 1 million ounces that will support a business case to build our own mill. And I'll show you how we'll get to that shortly. Corporate overview, you can see there our directors and our board and management team. We have 553,000 ounces in resource at just a shade under 2 grams, 1.9. Our share price today is around about 6.5, 6.8 as opposed to the 7.1 there. 358 million shares on issue, and we've got a market cap of around about 23, 24 million. Dirt cheap, and I'll tell you why shortly as well. 55% of the ownership is in the top 20, and we're very well supported by BNP Paribas and Deutsche Balaton, with some German and Singaporean shareholding. So 2022, it's a reinvigorated Matsa. There's a couple of key developments, as was alluded to earlier, just as I walked up on the stage. And these being the first of which is the sale of the Red October mine, and we're along with a small package of exploration ground for $20 million. Now, Red October, we bought that for about $1.8 million, including a camp, which we have retained. That $20 million sale we expect it to settle during the first week or so of June. Out of that 20 million, we've received so far $2.5 million non-refundable deposit, expecting another $500,000 later this month, around about the 25th, and then there'll be a deferred payment of $5 million within 24 months of the settlement of the transaction. So this will be a significant injection of cash into the bank balance, which we'll use for exploration purposes. And by around about mid-June, when the final settlement completes, we expect to have about $8 million in the bank, and we'll have $4.5 million in non-escrowed shares in the new IPO listed company, Linden. On completion, we'll still have 553,000 ounces, as I mentioned just before, centred on the Fortitude gold mine. And we have 385 kilometres squared of prime land in Lake Carey. The other key development is Thailand. Now, we've been in Thailand for over 10 years, but in 2016, it was just as we were starting to drill one of our key copper projects there, there were mining and political sort of issues that started to become unfavourable in terms of the landscape for exploration and mining. And so what we did there, we just pulled back and decided to keep a minimal sort of profile and in terms of expenditure in Thailand, whilst we retained the skill sets, the office and team, but in particular we actually retained our projects there as well. So with Kingsgate now advising that they expect to get back into production, pour gold by the end of this year, one of the very favourable developments there. Pan Asia Metals also drilling extensively down at Rung Kiet, indicating fairly good support from the government for exploration and mining to expand a lot, considering where it was 2 to 3 years ago. So with that in mind, and the fact that we already held some decent projects in Thailand, we've decided to go back and do a little bit more work there as well. What does this all mean for Matsa in itself? So when we signed the agreement to sell the Red October gold mine to Linden, we sold 314,000 ounces at a price of $64 per ounce. Now compare that to our existing situation at the time. We were around about 21 million market cap, 867,000 ounces on the resource, and that equates to around about $27 per ounce enterprise value. So essentially we sold the ounces at Red October and Devon exploration area for a premium of about 237%. We've always maintained the value of Matsa, and in particular Lake Carey, has been undervalued, and this really supported what we were thinking all along. Now, what's of real interest, and why I said that the share price of Matsa is very, very cheap, is that assuming very little share price movement between now and middle of June when this settles, we'll have 553,000 ounces of resource. We'll have nearly 17-ish sort of $1 million in cash and receivables, and that will equate to around about $16 per ounce enterprise value. Very, very cheap. What are we going to do with the money? Obviously, we're going to spend a fair bit of it in exploration, and a large lion's share of it will go towards Lake Carey itself. So the Pro-Forma sheet, once the conclusion of the settlement occurs, you can see here our land package. We're centred around the Sunrise Dam, Anglo Gold Ashanti. To the north we have Granny Smith and Wallaby with Goldfields International, and we basically follow along a key trend of Fortitude shear zone coming up through here, and that's the focus of our exploration going forward. Importantly, it's around about 60 kilometres of strike, 20 kilometres across, but in terms of the key structural features that we are chasing, it's probably in excess of 100 kilometres combined strike. As I said, we have 553,000 ounces in resource. The key initial target will be Fortitude North here, which is only about 6 kilometres north of Fortitude gold mine itself, so 6 kilometres north of the 500,000 ounces in resource. It's the same structure, same rock type, same style of mineralisation, so we think we understand that pretty well. At the moment, we've only got a couple of dozen sort of holes through that entire system, so there's not enough there to put together a JORC compliant resource. But what we have done is put a bit of an envelope around what we think is there, and at this stage we've identified a potential 380,000 ounces there. So we're pretty confident that with a little bit of extra drilling, we can see that increasing to rival, if not better, the Fortitude deposit that we have just only 6 kilometres south of that. And then as we keep going with our exploration, we'll keep going up that trend up that way as well. Fortitude gold mine, you've probably seen this one before. There's 489,000 ounces in that resource. We've done some pre-feasibility sort of work on that. We've got a pit optimisation, which produces around about 136,000 ounces. And at a $2,400 gold price, this pit would produce $96 million in cash surplus. And that's at a $2,400 gold price. As I mentioned, with today's gold price, that should be substantially better than that. So that pit would ultimately be 1 kilometre along and 190 odd metres deep. So we haven't got too much work to do to that to actually get it going. It's fully permitted. If we wanted to, we could start mining that now. Our biggest hurdle at the moment is we need a decent home for the ore to be processed. As I said, 553,000 ounces in resource. We're still targeting 1 million ounces, and I'll show you how that's going to be done. You can see here a whole bunch of prospects, key prospects. So the Fortitude shear zone extends up through this all the way up to north. Out to the west, we've got another shear zone, a splay called the Binder Shear. And then over to the east, it's less well defined at the moment. There's another shear zone there as well. So, and as I mentioned, nearly 100 kilometres worth of strike of prospective structure there. Some key drilling targets, you can see here our main targets all within around about 20 kilometre radius from the Fortitude gold mine, which is where we would propose to locate a mill going forward. The money that we're going to get in early June, this is where we're going to spend it in terms of Lake Carey. We've got a 40-odd thousand metre program scheduled and designed, air core drilling, RC drilling, and some diamond work there as well. And we'll be targeting the entire spectrum of the exploration pipeline from some resource definition drilling, Fortitude North and FF1. Then in the next section we've got some advanced exploration work there on 6 or 7 targets, and then we'll be doing a fair bit of greenfields air core drilling to delineate some drill targets there based on geophysics works and some soil work there as well. What I might add as well, we've actually commenced our drilling activities now. We've brought that forward, and we've just last week commenced drilling out at FF1, Wilga West, the Hall Road, and also Phantom Well. We've just got the assays expected of those over the course of the next few weeks. I'll just move along there to, running out of time, sorry. Just a fair, you can read this at your leisure or come and see us at our booth. Just quickly in terms of Thailand, our Lake Carey still will be our flagship project, but at Thailand it's important that we don't neglect what we've got there as well. So we'll spend a little bit of time and do some value-added work on that. We've still got the copper and lithium, copper and gold prospects in central Thailand, but we've also added some tenement stuff to the western Thailand along the granite belt there. 942 square kilometres of prospective tin, lithium, tantalum ground. Just a quick snapshot of the tenement position all the way from southern part of Phang Nga all the way through up to Kanchanaburi, just directly west of Bangkok. So one of the key things about this granite belt is it was mapped in the 1980s and 90s by the British Geological Survey, and obviously what they did is they identified lithium in places, in particular lepidolite. Now in the 90s that was of very little interest, so we've gone and pegged ground based on that information. Phang Nga, we've just recently finished a first pass stream sediment sampling program. There you can see there all the yellow dots. We've sent that off for assay, and that probably will take about 4 weeks or so before we get those results back. And importantly, we've observed a bit of tin in our activities there as well. Kanchanaburi, just up to the north, looking interesting as well. And you can see here, lepidolite was mentioned in the documentation. Similar sort of thing for the central part. And then, as I mentioned here before, what's really important with regards to our copper project here is we've got some very good assays, 54.7% copper, and some very good silver in there as well. A very brief snapshot of the activities going forward. You can see there's fairly intensive activities, mostly centred around Lake Carey. We'll do a little bit out in Thailand there as well, and you can expect some news flow based on this time frame. Thank you very much.
Thank you.